So we've got these three hashes here, and all we need to copy is this second half right here. So we're just going to copy this second half, and we can copy this. And we're going to use crackmap_exec to try to break it. So, or at least try to pass it. So what we can do is we could say something like crackmap_exec.
Same situation here. Make sure that crackmap_exec has SMB after it before you run the command as shown in the video. This is just a small update to the command line and a change that crackmap_exec has made.
Give the range that we're going to test against, so 57024, and then we're going to say username, and this one is Frank Castle like this. So because we have the space in there, I'm going to go ahead and just put that in quotations. And then we're going to do a capital H for hash, paste that in there. And the last thing we want to note is that this is local, so -- local is important to put in here.
Okay, one more small change that has come from crackmap_exec here. This is what your syntax should look like right this second, with your hash being here instead of the place of this hash. -- local -auth is the new syntax. In the video, I show you -- local. Make sure you add the -auth just to make sure this runs smoothly. So again, one small change from crackmap_exec. Make sure you have local auth in, make sure you have SMB in the front. The rest should stay the same in this situation.
Go ahead and hit enter and see it's going to try to pass this around the network and gain access. Now, it doesn't say that it's pwned here, which is interesting. But we do have the user light up green, which is an indicator that this might have actually worked in the attack. So if we see pwned or we see a green one here, like a green plus sign, that's a good indicator that this has worked. Pwn is a guarantee. The green arrow or the green plus sign here is a good chance, but this has resulted in false positives in the past. We do know that it worked, and it attempted to pass it along the rest of the way here. It was unsuccessful as expected, which is okay. But again, passing this hash around the network, you never know what you're going to find. You never know. This could light up green for all of these with pwned all the way down the list. And then guess what? We have every single machine. And I've had this happen in countless assessments. And if you want a story time, quick story time, there was a assessment that I was up against that was using something called privileged access management, which we're going to talk about really quick in the next video. But that's a great mitigation to these sorts of attacks, because what happens is a user goes in and they have to check out their domain account. So there are tools called like CyberArk or Thycotic that can be used where you go in, you type a password, you check out your domain account, and your domain account password is really long. It's some crazy complex 15 to 30 character password. You utilize that for 8 hours or so. And then guess what? When you check it back in, that password rotates to a new password. So you only know this crazy complex password for 8 hours. It's impossible to capture LLM&R or any kind of hash that's NTLM-v2 and try to crack it. But guess what? I was able to use SMB relay on an assessment, dump out the SAM hashes just like this. I saw administrator on there. I just went and copied this, put it into crackmap_exec just like I did here, flew it around the network, and it owned everything. In CyberArk, privileged access management, that's not cheap. We're talking $1 million software that they had focused on security, and their domain controller went down in seconds because they weren't thinking about their local admin accounts. Local admin accounts are so important, especially if you're reusing these passwords. It's gonna hurt you so bad. So keep this in mind as another form of an attack, utilizing these local hashes. And another thing to do as well is you can put this into psexec and get a shell out of it if you want. You can use psexec.py to do this. So for example, if we go to psexec and we just say -- help, you'll see in here that there is a place for hashes. So you can utilize the whole hash to authenticate instead of utilizing a password. So we can do something along the lines of this. psexec.py, and we'll just say something like, we'll say Frank Castle like this, and we won't give it a password, and we'll just say @ and this will be 192.168.57.141, and then we'll say hashes, And then we need the whole hash for this one. So we need the LM hash and the NT hash. And if we look here, this is the LM hash, and the second part is the NT hash. You need the entire hash for PSExec to work here. So let's go ahead and paste that, and we'll hit enter. And we can see while this user was able to authenticate here, we were able to request the share. We weren't able to get any admin access via this one. So even though this user has access to this machine, we're still not able to get a writable share where we can upload and get a shell. And to prove concept here, we can try it on another computer, say 42, where we know we don't have privileges, and you can see there's a login failure. So there's a difference here. But this is just another thing that you can do. You can attempt to get a shell with this local user without ever having to use PSExec or know the password or anything. So just building upon this, if you pass this password around the network and this password works all over the place, then your next move would be to do this setup here, put your hash in, and then try to fire it and get a shell. This is a quick way to own a domain controller, for example, if the domain controller is allowing something like this or that user is valid on that domain controller. So from here, we're going to go ahead and talk mitigation strategies, and then we'll move on to some more fun attacks in Active Directory.